folks, it's Randy Wilburn here with Zweig Group Media, and today I am happy to speak with Will Schnier, who is the CEO of Big Red Dog. And we're so excited to have Will on with us today to talk a little bit about his organization, to talk about his walk as a CEO with a growing engineering firm in the Texas marketplace. And in addition, to talk a little bit about Hot Firm and Best Firm to Work For, and what those programs have meant to his organization. And so without further ado, we just want to welcome Will to the table, if you will, to discuss with us a little bit about his organization and also a little bit about Hot Firm. And so, Will, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule on a Friday to connect with us and talk with us a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your firm, Big Red Dog. I've always been enamored by the name. It is one that you will never forget. Of course, whenever I say Big Red Dog, my kids think of Clifford. But when you say Big Red Dog, what do you think of?
The name is it's the smartest thing we've ever done, and one of the first decisions we made when we established the firm in 2009. And the name is in tribute to one of our project designers, whose first name is Clifford, and himself carried the nickname Clifford the Big Red Dog. So the reference to your kid's cartoon character is not too far off.
Right.
But Schnier is my last name, and that doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. And one of my co-founders was Lingvai, Lingvai, which was also a very ethnic-sounding name. So between the two of us and our third partner was Brown, we could have been Schnier, Lingvai, and Brown, and sounded like a law firm that nobody could type into Google.
Right.
And so we decided to do something different. We didn't name it after the three founding engineers. We named it after our first employee, which was Cliff Kendall, one of our project designers, now team leaders in our Austin office.
Wow.
And what's really unique about it is that, most project designers are the low man in a totem pole, on the totem pole in design firms. And, we, from the very beginning, wanted to be different and have a different kind of corporate culture, company culture, and named the firm after Cliff. And we joke that he's the only named partner in the firm out of, now there's a handful of us out there. So
Wow.
the name has been certainly memorable. When we hang up this phone call or when I leave a meeting, people forget the name Will Schnier oftentimes, but they'll never forget the name Big Red Dog.
Right.
They may say Big Dog or Red Dog or something, but they'll always be able to find out where we are and how to get in touch with us because the name is easy to remember and easy to search.
Yeah.
So that was 2009. We made that decision. We were at the bottom of the recession, late 2008, early 2009, and really felt there was an opportunity for three young guys to go off on our own and start something new in that market. And we started in Austin, Texas, with the three of us, and we had no money and we had no clients. We had a catchy firm name, and from those very humble beginnings and incredibly humble first year of operations, we've grown just over 6 years later to over 100 people in 4 different offices. We now have offices in Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio, in addition to Austin. And we provide, in addition to civil engineering, which is how we started, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing services, traffic engineering, and municipal design services. So we've grown like a weed and really been able to capitalize on the demographic trends in the state of Texas. And we've been very fortunate with the success we've had and the employees, team members, and clients that we've been able to attract since we opened.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, if I can just add to this, I understand that you guys have a very unique culture within your offices that is unlike what you'll find in a lot of other, quote unquote, engineering firms, whether in Texas or elsewhere. And I know I've been around the country visiting a lot of engineering firms, and you go into some of these stodgy old places, and you wouldn't realize that you're in a building or in an office where people that design things for a living work, and it's sometimes amazing to me. But tell me just a little bit about the culture there at Big Red Dog that has kind of led to this growth that you've experienced.
Yeah, that's a great question, and you were breaking up a little bit there in posing that question, so we might have to redo that one. But our culture is very unique for the industry and has been a key part to our success in recruiting new team members. It starts with our founders, the first generation, first year of the millennials, last generation, last years of Generation X. So the three founders are still under 40 years old. And starting with that, we wanted to get away from a cubicle atmosphere and very much modeled the corporate culture and the office setups after more of a technology type business. And Austin has the nickname Silicon Hills, and is very proud of their technology history, starting with Motorola, continuing to Dell, and now Facebook and Google have significant presences here, as do many other tech companies. So we were able to model our company, our culture, after those type of companies, and it starts with an open office environment. Everybody is sitting in an open atmosphere and able to collaborate directly, including myself. Nobody has a walled office at our company in any of our offices. We talked about the name earlier, but everything is branded. The office walls are branded. We have clothing, we have hats, we have coffee mugs, pint glasses. The water bottles are branded, and it extends to how we treat our team members. Every office and every team gets to set their own office hours. Some people like to work 7:30 to 5:30 4 days a week, and 7:30 to 11:30 on Fridays.
Okay.
So they always have a half day Friday. And other offices choose to work 8 to 5, and we give them that freedom to set those office hours, and the people who are working in those offices really appreciate that they're not judged by how long they're sitting in their chair. And then, we could take it a step further. We pretty consistently have catered lunches in the office, which is consistent with a lot of those technology companies that
Right.
Serve their team members lunch in the office and keep them in the office and talking with each other and collaborating, and saving them the money to have to go out and buy their own lunch. And it just kind of builds on itself. You start attracting people who like that atmosphere. They tend to be very collegial and fun and outgoing, and that attracts more of the same. So by and far, one of our largest selling points for prospective team members or prospective clients is to walk them through our office, let them get the feel for how we operate, and it either hits the nail on the head and they're in love at first sight, or they know that this isn't the place for them and they need to keep looking. And
Right.
fortunately for us, we've attracted an excellent team and client list, and it's not due to my sales efforts or the sales efforts of any of our principals or office leaders. It's really due to the way that the office operates, and that starts at the bottom and extends to the top. And it's very much an open atmosphere in that regard.
Wow. Well, with that said, I mean, it certainly that really resonates with me. I'm just curious to know if you see a trend happening in the industry where more firms are moving towards this. Are you starting to see maybe some of your competitors adopt some of the ways and practices that you guys have instituted from the beginning, for the most part? or is it still business as usual? Maybe in your neck of the woods there in Texas.
Both. When we started in '09, I mentioned we didn't have any money. So how we marketed ourselves was through social media channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter being the primary ones. And more importantly, through our blog, which we also brand, and it's called the Big Red Blog. And we have multiple blog posts each week. And it's really funny looking at it 6 years on, almost 7 years on. In 2010, several competitors snickered at what we were doing and joked that, you need to know your audience. Your clients aren't on the internet. They're not reading this stuff. Why are you wasting your time? And then, we started growing and we started taking off. And, 4 years ago, you started seeing them start to get social media accounts and
Right.
Try to start a blog. Many of them have been unsuccessful. And because it really, the leadership has to drive that stuff. You can't, appoint it to a marketing department. The leaders have to be fully engaged in your marketing efforts. And 3 years ago, you started to see websites get redeveloped to, have more information and feature their team members and their projects a little more than some of those plain and traditional looking websites. And now you see people changing their logos. We had one prominent competitor in Austin who just got bought by Stantec, but they had a blue Times New Roman logo, and 5 years after we were open, they had a big bold red logo. And trying to play a little bit of catch up, and
Right.
ultimately
No
they
pun
solved that
intended.
problem by selling the firm.
Right. Well, Will, I got to ask you about the name Big Red Dog, and I know that that for a lot of people it might seem strange, but just tell me what that has meant, not just to you, but to your employees, as well as to the market at large that you deal with from an engineering standpoint. Very, very intrigued to hear about the name. You've talked about how the name came about, but I'd love to find out a little bit more about just about how it's impacted you from a brand standpoint.
It's had been very positive from a branding standpoint. When we always get the question, how'd you come up with the name Big Red Dog? And right there, you've got people interested in your story, interested in learning more about you, and then it's up to you to deliver a spiel that's captivating enough and inviting enough to let them in on the name and in on the culture. And,
Okay.
when you tell, young engineers, even experienced engineers, that this is not a company, that exists to glorify the founders. Our founders' names aren't even in the company name, and you won't see them on the letterhead anywhere. That rings home as, more of a holistic organization, an organization that wants all ships to rise and not just the people at the top. And then, out in the marketplace, it's, when we enter a new market, we have to explain the name and explain the brand. But what we're finding, 6 years into this, is that the name and the brand is preceding us into many of the markets that we're entering, and people are well aware of who we are. And when we do show up and when we do arrive, we just opened our Dallas office last year. All of our competitors, when we would go to real estate council events or other networking events, knew who we were already, and would make comments like, "Oh, you guys are up in Dallas now, great!" Like, yeah, we kind of figured you would be here soon enough. We didn't think it would be this soon.
Right.
And it's really been. I think it's the smartest thing we did when we started the company, and then we invested in the URL bigreddog.com, which is an easy URL to remember.
Right.
It's all been very resulted in tremendous things for us as a company.
Wow, that's great. So, and I think we were talking earlier, and we kind of alluded to the fact that not just the company name and the brand itself, but it extends also to your employees and the way that you treat them, and a lot of the things that that you guys do that you may find that don't happen in traditional engineering or architectural firms. Just tell us a little bit more about that, and in your mind, why it makes a difference for you and the way that you treat your people.
Well, the number one factor with how we view treating our people is, they're the asset that goes home every night, and they're the asset that recruiters are calling constantly and competitors are calling constantly. And when you layer that in with, present day, mindset of team members, there's very little loyalty to the company if the company doesn't reciprocate and offer loyalty back.
Right.
And that starts with, giving them a say in the operation, letting them have a say in, how they think they can do their jobs better, giving them pretty consistent feedback on how they're doing their jobs day to day. Especially among the millennials, they're less motivated by money. They want feedback. They want to know how they're doing. They want to have a say in the operation. And we're the same way. We were frustrated about not having a say and being kept in the dark when we were at our previous firms, which were very good firms in their own right. But, when we started the firm, we had to do something different to attract talent. When we were 3 people, 4 people, how are we going to get the 5th person to a company named Big Red Dog that doesn't
Right.
have much work to do, without being able to offer them some benefits in that regard. And, we're 2 things that I'm very proud of is we're an entrepreneurial company and we're an open book company. So every year we write our business plan, and every year we publish it and present it to our staff in every office and buy them all lunch, go through the business plan, tell them give them a scorecard of what we did last year, what we said we were going to do and how we actually performed, tell them what we're going to do this year, tell them what we're looking at for the year after that. Give them a chance to ask questions and to provide feedback on those plans. And, and the other thing we reiterate at every level of the organization is as long as there's not a legal reason for not showing you something, you can come in and ask to look at any document that we've got in the company. We don't have anything to hide. And the more inquisitive you are as a team member, with how we're operating the company, the more you're going to know about it, the more you're going to be able to contribute to it, and the more feedback we're going to get on how successful it's going to be. The mindset really is we put this business plan together. Don't just put it on the shelf. Read it, present it to them, and if you expect them to execute it, they need to know what's in it.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's true.
that goes with the whole entrepreneurial culture. Once they're executing the business plan, they're acting like an owner of the business and really driving the ship forward.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, and it gives us a nice segue into our next question, which was one of the main reasons why we had this conversation in the first place, which was to talk about hot firm and best firm to work for. And I know it's our annual event that we do is a hot firm event. This year it will be in Phoenix, Arizona on September 22nd and 23rd. And so we certainly want to just kind of know in terms of learn a little bit more about your experience with the hot firm event, specifically with that hot firm designation and the best firm to work for designation. Now, you've been a hot firm how many times now?
We just 2015 was the first year we placed on the list because it was based on several previous years of revenue growth, not just the one previous year. And,
Right.
we're only 6 years old. So
Yeah.
we applied for the first time in 2015 and made the list. We came in number 26. And, that's something we're very proud of and really a validation of what we're doing down here in Texas.
Okay. Now you applied for best firm to work for as well, right?
We did not.
You did not.
We did
Okay.
not.
All right. So hopefully you'll apply for it this year and be a part of that. It sounds like you won't have any problems making that list based on what you've shared with me. And and also just the feedback that I have received out in the marketplace about your firm. So that's really exciting. Um, what did you take away from the awards process itself? Were you particularly involved in that at all?
Yes, I was in Boston at the Copley for the award ceremony. I brought my wife with me, my
Okay.
co-founder and business partner Bob Brown, who runs our Houston office.
Okay.
He and his girlfriend joined us, and it was really a first-class event. The Copley was a beautiful hotel. The red carpet going into the award ceremony was a nice touch,
Yeah.
and then you know. Mark is not a shy guy, so his
No.
emceeing, his ability to MC the event and keep it lively and not like a typical engineering award ceremony
Yeah.
was very fun. And we really had a great time. We loved Boston. The hotel was beautiful. It was located right on Copley Plaza, and based on that experience, I'm very hopeful that we continue to be somewhere on the hot list and can find an excuse to go to the events in the future. Really looking forward to the Biltmore this year. So,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, well,
uh,
we look forward to having you there with us for sure. How did the staff react there at Big Red Dog to being named to the hot firm list, and how did it resonate with them?
the reaction was incredibly positive. When you tell people, they're working very hard day in, day out. We all are. And these outside awards, Hot Firm Award in particular, is a great validation of those efforts. When they can go home and tell their family members and tell their friends and tell the people they went to school with that, yeah, my firm was the 26th fastest growing engineering and architecture company in North America or in the United States and Canada out of thousands of firms. That's an incredible feather in their cap. And it provides validation and a source of pride for all of our team members. And it's being on the hot firm list, being the 26th fastest growing engineering and architecture firm in the United States and Canada is certainly a tremendous honor. And we were able to parlay that honor into a full page, multiple page feature article in our newspaper here in Austin, the Austin American Statesman. And it came out on a Sunday edition, the one edition people all still subscribe to. And, it probably got 300, 400, 500, emails or text messages or pats on the back about that article from, our network, whether they're team members or co-consultants or competitors or clients. And it was really a tremendous honor back to back being, not only receiving the award, but being featured in the Austin American Statesman. You wake up on Sunday morning, and it happened to be my birthday. It came out October 11th.
Oh, nice.
So I woke up, my wife had breakfast ready, and then I showed her our company in the paper, and it was really a hell of a way to wake up on your birthday.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sure you have that article framed somewhere in the office. So
There's one of them there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. Well, that's great. That's a great story, and that was actually you beat me to the punch because that was my next question, which you've since answered, which was what was the success or an outcome that you experienced because of the hot firm designation, and so getting that local press, I'm sure, has helped quite a bit. You talked about the impact to your employees and just the pride that the hot firm designation has instilled in everyone, and so that's really exciting to hear. I'm going to go and I'm going to end up with this one question, just which I think will be really interesting for other young engineers and architects to hear from someone like yourself that has had a fair amount of experience at a young age. What would you say to the young architects and engineers that are coming into the industry nowadays and are sometimes jaded by the fact that our industry can operate in a way that it can seem archaic at times? how would you encourage them to kind of step out of their comfort zone the way that you did back in 2009, and possibly initiate something different, something exciting, something new, like a big red dog or something along those lines? What would you say to encourage those young engineers and architects that are just coming into this industry now?
Number one, know the position you're in. One of the things I tell our folks all the time is American universities are graduating fewer and fewer engineers every year. And when you layer on top of that a few things, number one, development regulations, construction regulations at every level of the government, from municipal all the way up to federal, are not getting easier.
Yeah.
They're never going to get easier. So there's fewer engineers and more regulations, which is tremendous job security. And for us in Texas, you put on top of that the icing on the cake of 1,000 people a day. 1,000 people every day are moving to the state of Texas. And 8 out of 10 of those are moving to the 4 places where we have a significant presence: Austin, right, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio.
Yeah.
So, one other thing that they really need to consider is, what they perceive as an archaic industry is very much an industry in transition. The engineering firm leaders who are in their 50s and 60s and 70s, have done a tremendous job building and leading their firms ever since they've been in those positions. And not to take anything away from them, because they've been my mentors, they've taught me the business. But you look at, most firms in our industry today, between the 35-year-old guy and the 60-year-old guy, there's not that many people in the organization, particularly in Texas. The savings and loan crisis and bank failures of the 1980s really hollowed out a whole generation and a half of potential leaders in engineering firms. So right, the transition for a millennial or a Generation X type employee to step into a leadership role they don't have to wait 10 or 15 or 20 more years. They can do it right now.
Right.
And there's a whole lot of these guys that don't have a succession plan, don't have a transition plan for their firm. And if you've got the skill set and the desire to step up and be that transition plan and start to take over some of the leadership responsibilities, it's a golden opportunity, whether you're 24 years old and right out of college, or 34 years old and have 10 years of experience. And then think about who your clients are. Your clients' organizations are facing the same thing. They have, 40 or 50, 60, 70-year-old guys, and they have a bunch of 20 and 30-year-old guys, and there's no one in their 40s really running those organizations. So their next generation is going to be looking to the next generation of consultants to service their projects in the future. So there's a confluence of factors from, number of people graduating, regulations, population growth, and the hollowing out of that kind of middle management period in these companies that, it won't be a stodgy, archaic type industry for very long.
Yeah.
And we're experiencing, Moore's Law, we're experiencing the fastest pace of change in technology of any generation before us. Virtual reality is the hot new buzzword. Well, I may be able to go to the Hot Firm Awards in 3 years with a headset on my head from my conference room.
Right, right.
Who knows? And that's certainly not archaic.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's very true. Times, they are changing, and certainly you guys are staying ahead of the curve, to say the least. And man, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to just share with us a little bit. And so, in the interest of sharing with those individuals that may be listening to this on a podcast or actually watching the video somewhere, can you let people know how they could reach out to you if they had any questions for you, Will?
Yeah, absolutely. Our website, bigreddog.com, is really our clearinghouse for all the information about our company. Our authority demonstrates our authority and our experience. And then personally, my email address is Will, Will, .Schnier, Schnier, at bigreddog.com. And I'd love to hear from folks if they want to know more about us, or if they're interested in joining our firm or working for us, or just looking for some advice on what they're doing. And every time I have a conversation, whether it's with you, Randy, or with a potential employee or a potential client, I learn more. I learn more about our industry, and I get more effective at what I do. And I would encourage anybody who's thinking about reaching out and getting in touch with us to do so, because I really appreciate the conversation and the connection and what you can teach me.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Will. I really, really appreciate this. I want to thank everybody for listening to this video or podcast, depending on what format you're listening to this in. Certainly want to encourage you guys to take part in the 2016 Hot Firm, Best Firm to Work For event that will be taking place at the Arizona Biltmore Hotel in Phoenix, Arizona, and that will be September 22nd and 23rd. It is going to be an outstanding event, and if you're in the engineering or architectural space and the design community as a whole, and you want to be a part of something special, please come out and join us. You'll be able to find out more information about that at zweiggroup.com. Once again, this is Randy Wilburn for Zweig Group Media. Thanks again for listening in, and thanks for hearing from our special guest today, Will Schnier, and all the amazing things that they're doing at Big Red Dog. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk with you soon.